friends and fellow hobbyists out there in YouTube land. Well, another Saturday, another build. We start a brand new build this week, and it's gonna be a racing VW bus. Well, first we start with a big engine. That's what we show today, and some of the chassis as well. But first, as always, the riddle! Okay, here in the shop we're building the first build with our homemade motors that we scratch built and resin casted recently. This is the one with 3 banks and 15 cylinders. It comes with the block, the gearbox, the front panel with the water pump, oil pan, and so let's start it. First, painting the whole stuff. So after we used the magic of video cutting, we started with the push rods, which are made out of guitar strings, and for 15 cylinder we need 30 push rods. I use some contact glue for the picker parts, for example for the oil pan. The advantage of using contact glue is you put it on both parts that you wanna connect and let it dry, and then you can handle the part. And as soon those two parts with the glue touch each other, they basically glued on. It's just how much you press, and they're perfectly together. I think that's, for me at least at the moment, the most favorite way to glue resin parts together. The capacity of each cylinder represents about 1 liter, so 15 of those, it's about 15 liter capacity, or 915 cubic inch. Wiring the ignition is of course a lot of work if you have that many cylinders. Always first cut the wire in length, then add the little shoe for the ignition wire, and then I glue both together in the cylinder. The inspiration for the motor was of course airplane motor, and doing a little research, I think 800 horsepower should be the minimum that it should have output. I decided for this motor to have fuel injection, which goes from the pump here in 3 intake rails. The exhaust is basically a straight pipe, and under it the golden part is the intake rail. Painted some copper wire in the right shape for the 3 gas lines to the intake rails. We also added an air cleaner for the injection pump. We use simply painter's tape for the timing belt. After that, the last 2 pieces would be the ventilator and the starter. Alright, the first thing that we had to do to the chassis, of course, we had to stretch, and it was way too short to fit this giant motor on, so we had to stretch it and build a new frame. For the frame I use a 4x4mm rod, which works really good for me. After I cut the pieces all in the way I wanted it, I glued them together, and then of course I glued it on the chassis. What you see here on the picture, I always use on the side of the frame some styrene strips to reinforce the frame. This crossbar here not just works for reinforcing the frame, but also as a mounting spot for the suspension later on. I always make sure that everything has a 90-degree angle as much as possible and is completely straight. The better you work now, the easier it is later on to fit all the stuff together. Next thing is mounting the mounting plates for the big engine. Alright, so since the motor fit nicely, we can go to the next step, which is the braking parachute. First we have to build a mounting plate for it, and later on we're gonna paint it, of course, and have it all nicely done. Gluing it on the frame is gonna be the last step. Next gonna be reinforcing the rear axle and building the suspension from scratch. As the last part of the chassis that we show footage of is we scratch built a wheelie bar. We used a little rubber o-ring and built this little wheel from scratch, and yeah, we mounted on the differential as a little wheelie bar. Alright, so that's all for this show. I hope you tune in next Saturday and like the build so far. Don't forget, love and friendship, something you can't buy. Respect all people. Keep that hobby alive. See you next Saturday, folks. Bye bye.